Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Zooty Pickups. In today's video, we'll be talking about the Air Jordan 3 Tinkers. So these retailed for $200, and while they saw a smaller limited release a couple of weeks prior, the general release was April 30th of 2018. April 30th also happens to be Tinker Hatfield's birthday, and 2018 also happens to be the 30th anniversary of the Air Jordan 3s, which came out in 1988. So I think that makes this model a pretty historically significant model. So you know me, I'm not the biggest Jordan guy. I only have like one pair of Jordans. However, I love Tinker, and I just love the whole story behind this shoe. I love the design, so I had to go and pick myself up a pair to see for myself. So before we go talking about all the features and details of the shoe, I kind of want to talk about the design story here because I think it's pretty fascinating. The Air Jordan 3 it's a pretty significant shoe. So if you think about Tinker Hatfield, he's pretty synonymous with Jordan brand at this point, right? He's like the granddaddy of Jordan shoes. I mean, he's designed pretty much like most Jordan shoes. But what a lot of people don't know is that he didn't start designing Jordans until this one, the Jordan 3. The first and second Jordans were not designed by him. So if we take a time machine back to 1988, Nike is not big of a company. It is present day. It's just a smaller footwear company. They're obviously smaller than Adidas or Puma or Converse or any of the big players. And while Michael Jordan is playing for Nike, he's not very happy. He's not very happy with his signature model, the Jordan 2, and he's getting some pretty lucrative offers. He's getting tempted from other companies. So he's kind of thinking about leaving Nike, and Nike realizes this, that he's thinking about leaving. So they're like, oh no, we can't lose this guy because they know Michael Jordan has a lot of star power, so they want to keep him. So they get their best designer, Tinker Hatfield, on the case, and he's like, hey, Tinker, you need to go to Michael, and you need to make him a shoe that will convince him to stay. So Tinker Hatfield gets on a plane, flies over to Michael Jordan's, and he's like, okay, what do you want to see in a shoe? So Michael's like, I want a fresh, good looking pair of shoes that's also very performant. He wanted a shoe that didn't have to be broken in. Like, he wanted a shoe that he could wear right onto the court, straight out of the box. So Tinker goes back home, he starts designing, and after a couple of iterations, he comes up with this shoe right here, the Air Jordan 3. So Nike has this big unveiling event. They show the shoe for the first time to Michael Jordan, and instantly Michael Jordan is in love. He loves the shoe, and that pretty much cements Michael Jordan and Nike's relationship. So after that, the rest is history. Tinker Hatfield and Michael Jordan work hand in hand for dozens more successful Jordan models. So all that being said, you can see why this shoe is so significant. There's actually a lot of firsts in this shoe. This is the first shoe, like I just mentioned, that Tinker Hatfield worked on for Jordan. This is the first Jordan to have a Jumpman on the shoe. This is the first Jordan to have elephant print or cement print, whatever you want to call it, on the shoe. And this was also the first Jordan to have an exposed air unit. So, there's a lot of new innovations and a lot of firsts going on in this shoe, and you can see why this shoe kind of cemented Tinker Hatfield's place as the lead Jordan designer. So all that kind of brings us back to this shoe right here, the Tinker 3s. So yeah, let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's talk about the features. So this shoe is not a re-release of a OG colorway or anything like that. It's a brand new model. This is a never released kind of new colorway, new model. So this shoe is based off the sketches that Tinker Hatfield did, based on the conversations he had with Michael Jordan. So this is kind of like based on the initial prototype sketches that he came up with. So there are some big differences here to the release version of the Jordan 3. The major difference being that there is a swoosh on the lateral side right here. On the release version, they decided to remove the swoosh in favor of just keeping the Jumpman on the tongue. And this was done to kind of give Jordan a independent identity. They didn't want Jordan to be under the shadow of Nike, I guess. You know, kind of like how you don't see the Toyota logo on Lexuses, I guess. So they got rid of the swoosh, and this area on a normal Jordan 3 is totally empty, which I always thought was kind of weird. You know, this is kind of like a large empty area, but you know, now I know that there was originally a swoosh here, and that's why that area feels so empty. The cool thing about this swoosh is that you can see it's not like a perfect Nike swoosh. It's kind of a little misshaped, and that's because it's lifted directly from Tinker's sketches, so it's, you know, hand drawn. It has that kind of like hand drawn type of look to it. So I thought that was like a really cool touch. Another big difference is the elephant print here. The original elephant print or cement print is gray and black, but as you can see here, this is black on black. The raised part of the print is kind of like this matte black, and the indented part is a glossy black. So it gives it a nice texture difference that makes it look pretty sweet. Another big difference that this shoe has going on from the release version is that this leather panel right here that kind of wraps around is this gray color. On the release version it is white, and this rear heel panel here, which looks very similar to the heel panel from the Air Max 90 actually, is bright red instead of white. Finally, you have some finishing touches in the form of Tinker Hatfield's signature on the inside of the tongue right here, and also on the inside of the shoe. Like, you won't be able to really see this well, but you can see the original sketch of this shoe printed on the insole, as well as another one of Tinker Hatfield's signatures. The left shoe actually also comes with a custom Tinker Hatfield signature hang tag as well. So apart from those design differences, we're pretty much looking at a normal Jordan 3. All the other features are pretty much identical. The leather that they used on the upper is a super soft, tumbled white leather. I really like the quality of the leather. It feels great to the hand. It's accented with this kind of perforated leather around the tongue area right here and around the heel area to kind of give a little bit more ventilation. And the tongue, I would like to happily note, is a gusseted tongue, so it will not move around. Thank God for that. On the medial side, you have the Nike logo embroidered in gray thread. And moving down to the midfoot, you can see that the eyelets are done in the same bright red colorway as the Jumpman and the heel panel. The plastic eye stays are also done in this gray colorway that match the wrapping panel right here and the outsole of the shoe, kind of giving the shoe a very cohesive look. You know, I really like the whole black, gray, white thing that they got going on with a splash of red. I think it's a very aesthetically pleasing color combination. The inside of the shoe is lined with this very plush kind of microfiber material to wick sweat and give you that comfort while you wear. And the tongue is very heavily padded as well, and it kind of pushes down on the top of your foot very nicely. Moving to the midsole, we have the signature Tinker Hatfield exposed air unit. We got some black on the top of the midsole and white on the bottom of the midsole. And on the outsole, we have some splashes of red and gray and white. And you can see on the gray portion, you have Nike's signature star pattern. But otherwise, nothing too special to note there. So that pretty much wraps up all the features. This being a performance basketball shoe, I guess we have to talk about the comfort and fit. In terms of fit, these fit perfectly true to size. I think Jordan Brand does one of the best jobs of making true to size shoes. I think they're pretty much like the standard of like what foot sizes should be. So I am a true 13, and 13 always fits me like a glove with Jordan Brand. So these are no exception. Go true to size for these. You'll be super happy. In terms of comfort, so I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt here because this shoe came out in 1988. This is an old shoe. That being said, you know, it's not the most comfortable shoe by modern standards, but it's not bad. The shoe is definitely large and clunky and heavy. However, you know, the cushioning, the Nike Air cushioning, it does provide a decent amount of comfort. Like, while you shouldn't pick these as your shoes if you're gonna be standing on your feet all day long, like these are great for just like, you know, going out for a couple hours and whatnot and just kind of like showing off to your friends. In that kind of scenario, you're not gonna feel like a lot of discomfort. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not uncomfortable shoes, but I think we're kind of spoiled at this point with all the new modern cushioning technology. However, one thing I would like to point out is that the inside of the shoe is extremely cushy. It's like that super soft plush microfiber, and there's a ton of padding because this is like an old shoe and they had a ton of padding in shoes back then. So it feels like your foot is being wrapped by pillows, at least on the upper portion of the shoe. One minor gripe I have is like right here on the inside where your kind of like pinky toe hits the toe box, there is a seam, there's like a stitch seam inside the shoe that is right here. And for me anyway, like my pinky toe kind of touches that stitch seam and it kind of creates some abrasion that created a little bit of discomfort for me. But you know, I think it's just minor, but it's definitely noticeable, and I thought it was something I should mention. It would have been a lot better if they moved that seam a little further back so it did not rub against the wearer's toe. But I mean, it is what it is, and it's not really a deal breaker or anything like that. So all in all, while this shoe is probably like not the most practical or wearable shoe, I think this shoe has a lot of significance in terms of a collectible. So this shoe is kind of like a little piece of heritage and history. If you're into Jordans, if you're into Tinker Hatfield, I think this shoe is kind of like a must-have. And you know, it doesn't hurt that it looks really good as well. So it's actually a pretty cool looking shoe to rock every now and then. So yeah, I'm gonna throw these on foot so you guys can see what they look like. And once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.